Welcome to Frequency, for women expanding into their next level selves and moving with intuitive clarity and planetary alignment as they do. I'm Caprice, identity mentor, astrologist, and intuitive guide. Your frequency is your energetic signature, how you think, decide, and move. It's your authentic self dialed in. Every episode serves to sharpen that frequency, expanding your capacity to hold your vision and take bold, authentic action towards your manifestations. High standards, high signal, high frequency. Hi, welcome back to the podcast. It's Caprice. Welcome to my living room. Welcome to my space. It's nice to be visible. This episode is all about normalizing a higher frequency, making your breakthrough energy your new baseline. But before we begin, and I really go on a rampage about this topic, I really want to thank flood of new listeners to Frequency, expanded network that has occurred just in the last 4 weeks, which I feel personally really proud of as a business owner and someone who hosts a podcast, right? Which relies on the community aspect of it. And I'm really starting to feel that, which makes me really happy as a former community director in person. So this is really lovely. So whether it's your first time here or you've been listening for a while, thank you so much for being a part of these conversations. And I just feel so proud of everyone really considering and sitting with what does it mean to be your authentic self? And what does it mean to have that authentic self energetically as an embodiment, to have that really dialed in and embracing change as the one constant, change as a constant. So thanks for being here and really excited to get into this topic. I've been sitting with a thought recently that feels really important to bring up. And it's actually something I was writing right before I was going to record a completely different topic, actually. And as I was writing, something really struck me. I was writing something to the effect of your signal is always being influenced by your environment, who and what you surround yourself with, what you tolerate, what you repeatedly think about, and the emotional patterns that you normalize. And then just the word normalize kind of hung in the air there with me. And I know that the last episode was so much about how what is familiar is not always aligned. So I was sitting there looking at the word normalize, and I was sitting there and I was like, let me be in this. What is this telling me here? And as I sat there, I was like, this is the whole thing. What we normalize is the whole thing. So much of personal growth is not becoming someone new. It's normalizing a different, more authentic, dialed in version of yourself. You at a higher frequency. And again, in the last episode, we talked about what is familiar is not always aligned. And how there are versions of ourselves, identities and stories and patterns, that even relationships, contracts that are familiar, and they're no longer true. They're familiar, but they are no longer true. And I think that's where people are right now. It's this realization. It's this waking up to this, and it's also a big wake up call, because our world, even myself, like when I think back to when I was a child, what was familiar then, what I was even told to expect later in life, like all of it's just been blown to smithereens. That's like, the millennial experience. We're all in it. We're like, oh, okay, never mind. But like most people, and especially the women who come to work with me, they've outgrown something. You've outgrown something. You know that you want more. You know that you are changing. But then what? And What happens after the expansion point? Because here's the thing. You can have a breakthrough. You can have an aha moment. You can have a spiritual awakening. You can get the download. You can be on the most beautiful, enriching retreats. You can get the new job. You can make the decision. You can meet a version of yourself that you've been trying to become. And then, you know what happens? You have to sustain her. And how do we sustain her? You're working up. There's all this emphasis. There's all this energy around the climatic event of the breakthrough, and nobody's talking about the part where we have to sustain. The breakthrough is just a moment that passes. The breakthrough is not the finish line. The breakthrough is the introduction to a new chapter. It's the disruptive event, and it is big and is worthy of discussing and breaking down and receiving support to navigate through. And that's exactly the work that I do. And what happens after that is that you have to make the version of yourself familiar. Normalize that frequency. You have to make her normal. And this is why I think so many people struggle to hold what they say that they want. Not because they don't deserve it, not because they're sabotaging themselves, which the deservingness and self-sabotage, key villains in your story arc, key villains in your glow up story. But because it still feels foreign. Because it's new, it's fresh, it's vulnerable, it's fragile, it's new. It doesn't have roots yet. It's a vision. It only becomes real through embodiment. It's living up here. You have to put it into action for it to exist outside of that one singular and beautiful and miraculous breakthrough. Maybe you want self-confidence, but self-criticism feels familiar. Again, maybe you want visibility, but hiding feels familiar. These are patterns in your nervous system, in your identity, these are habits. They're just habits, and we can break habits. We can break patterns. Everything is changeable, and everything is a result of conditions. And if you have privilege to change your conditions and your habits and your routines, then you can rewrite yourself in this world before you die. Do it. Why feel stuck? Why have a contract with feeling stuck? Why make that your norm to feel stuck? That's an exhausting norm. Your nervous system, your habits, your identity, they are always going to try to return to what feels known and what feels normal, what feels familiar. And this is where I think frequency becomes a much more practical conversation, because your frequency isn't what you occasionally access. It's what you've normalized. It's what you've made familiar. It's the emotional states that you live in most often. It's the standards you've accepted. It's the operating system that has been grooved out in your neural network, and it's the easiest path to walk. Does it make it the most aligned? No. The most expansive? Does it make it the healthiest for you? No. It's just familiar. It's the standards that you have accepted. It's the conversations you have. It is the environments you stay in. It's what you've decided is normal. And then when it's familiar and it's normal, it becomes expected. And that's where we're really fucking up. That's where we're messing up. Is that we expect what's always occurred to continue occurring. And then you ring in the self-sabotage. And then you ring in that whole thing of like, oh, things are going so well. I'm expecting the other shoe to drop. Woe is me. It's all because of that zone of familiarity. I'm not going to call it a comfort zone anymore. It is a zone of familiarity. And in that zone, you've told yourself what to expect, what is normal, what is routine, and what you're willing to accept. It's like a secret contract and you've signed at the bottom and you're like, I accept all these terms and conditions, but you don't really. It's not really you or who you want to be. And it's not aligning with your vision. It's not aligning with your essence. It's, again, maybe not the healthiest and the most magnetic or the most aligned way to exist. Maybe what's part of the limits in your world presently is really just the ecosystem of what you've normalized, of what you've made familiar. Most people are trying to create an extraordinary life and extraordinary results while remaining loyal to old systems, trying to anchor into some sense of safety that is not actually safety. It's just what's familiar. They're trying to create a new life while relating to themselves in the same way that they did previously. And that doesn't work because eventually your life starts reflecting your baseline. And that's what frequency is all about. Not your aspirations. Your life isn't going to reflect your aspirations. Your life isn't going to reflect your vision board. You know that, right? It's not just going to reflect your vision board. You have to embody it. I don't ask myself, how do I become that woman? I say, how do I make her familiar? How do I make that version of myself baseline? How do I decide like her? How do I make her standards familiar? How do I operate from her value system? And there really is no separation. I'm saying her, but like it's my value system, but polished, refined, committed to, highlighted, non-negotiable. How do I make her way of moving through the world my familiar? How do I make her way of moving through the world my normal? Because once something becomes normal, you stop fighting. You're not fighting to maintain it. You're maintaining it. You're sustaining it. Forget the expansion point. Can you sustain it? Once you've made this new higher frequency normal, you're not having to prove anything. You're not having to chase anything. You simply are it. And that's what I think real embodiment is. It's not accessing a higher version of yourself just once. Just this one time I felt her and I'm just always going to try to crawl back to her. No, it's waking up and choosing her again and again and again until one day you will realize that the life that you classified as extraordinary is now your baseline. It's normal. Extraordinary becomes your norm. Extraordinary becomes familiar. Your highest frequency and your most magnetic self is baseline. That's embodiment. It feels natural. It feels expected. It feels like home. You're at home in a more pure essence of you. You're happier. You're more satisfied. You're fulfilled. You are aligned. You are in your authentic self. And that's what a higher frequency actually is. It's not a point of expansion that you feel once, and it's not perfection, and it's not some peak experience, and it's not a constant state of bliss, which okay, I'll talk about that another time. It's a new baseline and it is a new normal, one that is capable of expanding your capacity for what you think is possible in your world and what you receive. A higher frequency is you in greater capacity for the more that you said that you wanted. You're in the moreness and it feels perfectly fine. And it gives you room to think, what else? If you've been listening to frequency and feeling like you want more direct clarity, support, or guidance around your own life and current season, Private recalibration sessions are the way to work with me directly. Sometimes one clear conversation changes everything. These sessions are designed to help you see what's actually happening beneath the surface of your current situation. The patterns, distortions, emotional blocks, your timing, or subconscious dynamics that are affecting your perspective and your magnetic decision making. Through intuitive insight, astrology, energetic recalibration, and grounded guidance, we work directly with what's ready to shift so you can move forward with greater alignment and precision. Private sessions are available individually or for deeper support through the 3-session recalibration series. Head to the show notes or frequency.co, that's frqnc.co, to book with me. Thank you for tuning into Frequency. If this episode sparked something in you, I would love to know. Reach out to me. Everything's in the show notes. Until next time.